Thank you, Bill. So I finally got a chance to introduce Andy Smallwood. So Andy is an attorney practicing corporate law, and he actually joined Rotary back in 1981, which marks his 40th year this year. And he was club president in 88, 89, district governor 95, 96, and he became the RI director 2012 to 2014. And he's also selected to be RI treasurer at 2013-14. And he has always made a statement that he believed his greatest asset in Rotary and life is his wife, Anita. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that Andy is one of District 5890's greatest asset.
I made notes for today, and I even wrote what the topic was going to be. Rotary adds value to lives. So I'll try to stick to that. But first I thought, okay, why not reminisce? Because I didn't realize I've been in Rotary 40 years, but I've known your club for 30 more years. And the very first thing I heard about Memorial Spring Branch is they serve mystery meat. I don't know if that's still a topic, but it had me baffled. I thought, okay, I got to make up there. And sure enough, I don't know, would y'all meet at the Hilton or the Ramada on 59? If anybody remembers 35 years ago, I had no idea what that food was. It truly was mystery meat. And so that's always been stored away. I had a really good district conference, but my first district conference chairman resigned on me. My second district conference chairman resigned on me. And so I turned to a little known Rotarian, Bill Heglin, in your club. And Bill had been a sergeant at arms, I think the year before. I know y'all know Bill as being the conference chairman almost every year for district conference. Well, I asked him the first time, and we were in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico for it. I wanted a budget. I like to do things. You know, I was RI treasurer. I like finances. I like to look on paper and see where we're at. And Bill kept promising me he'd get me a budget. We never had a budget. I wanted to not make money off the district conference. That had been something that we had been doing each year. No, I wanted break even, or if anything, I would like us to lose some money because I really thought it benefits the district, those Rotarians attending a conference. So we're in Puerto Vallarta, and Bill comes to me and says, you know, I got bad news. I go, what's that? He says, I think we're going to make about $500. I said, Bill, that sounds like a party to me. And so we went to the hotel and said, what can we get for $500? And they said, we can do a fireworks show. And so that Saturday night banquet, we went out with a bang on a fireworks show. So Bill is a special person. He has been a very, very close friend for at least 30 years. I really did have a very, very good, Nita and I had a very good year as district governor. And we did a lot of different things. And people always ask, where did y'all come up with that? The secret was, again, your club. When Sonny Nichols was district governor, and Sonny was from Memorial Spring Branch, he had ideas of what we should do. I just don't think the district was ready for it. But when I was governor, his ideas were my blueprint, and we did them. And so chalk went up for Sonny. Colonel Arch Ethan was always a good friend. And he became my sergeant at arms at district conference, except how do you call a colonel a sergeant? So we called him the colonel at arms, put it in the brochure. I've always enjoyed your club, but maybe not the mystery meat. Why did I join Rotary? It's because I was in Interact in high school. So I knew that Rotary existed. And I had been to a Rotary Club's meeting in high school, and there was the rank and file of my city there. and I stored it away. Someday it would be good to eat lunch with these people. I joined for all the right reasons. I did not have a desire to save the world. I didn't have any solutions. I wanted to meet business people to make money. And I'd moved my practice to a new part of town, and I wanted to make friends. And Rotary just seemed like the right place. At that district conference, it was Ray Potter's district conference that Anita and I went to. We did not want to go. Ray Potter was from Memorial Spring Branch. We had a club president that was pretty domineering, and he said, "You're on the board of directors, or will be. You have made an implied consent. You have to attend the district conference." Well, he was a really big guy. And so Anita and I said, okay, let's go to district conference. She's in her 20s. I'm in my 30s. Why do we want to go to Corpus Christi and listen to some bunch of dry speeches and with people that were so much older than us and spend the money that we really don't have? But he was a big guy. So we went. None of y'all remember, but there was a TV show, That Girl. And one of the deals that would go on was whenever Marlo Thomas and the guy playing the other part they would go into a scene that they didn't want to be at a party. They would say, "We'll just kibitz and leave." Well, we liked that idea. So we did exactly what they did. We decided we'd show up for one event. We would kibitz and we would go where we want to go. So we did it like they did it. One of us started on one side of the room, the other started on the other side of the room. We walked around and went kibitz, kibitz. Didn't talk to anybody, got back to each other and said, I've kibitzed. How about you? Have you kibitzed? Yes, let's leave. So we're walking out the door. Dick McKay, a Rotarian from River Oak, came over to us and said, "I saw y'all kibitzing. Maybe now you'd like to meet some people." So we were caught and trapped. And so he brought us into a circle of friends, and wow, we got into things. Rotarians in every club and in every part of the world are great people. They're people that you want to be best friends with. That's what we learned pretty quick. Well, from that kibitzing and now meeting people, we then got asked to participate in youth exchange. So that started I'll get to the youth exchange, but that was a big part of our lives. All right, y'all get those emails. I know you do because I get them, that says there's going to be a trip to the Guerrero Clinic in Mexico. And here's what you have to do to participate. Okay, so I volunteered on one of those. Now, when I travel without Anita, I travel very light. I could get all my clothes into something about that size. And so I'm going to fly in a private plane down to Chihuahua, and then we're going to be on an SUV and drive on to Guerrero. I'm leaving at like 5, it's dark, and I'm going out with my little bag, and here comes Anita, greets me at the car and says, "I want you to take this." She has got a sack full of boxes of pencils. It's more the luggage than I'm taking. I said, "Why would I want to go down there with all these pencils?" She said, "You're going to see children. Give them the pencils." Well, she who must be obeyed had spoken. And so I took the pencils. We flew probably a 4-hour flight, little plane in Chihuahua. Then we got into the bus, and it was another 6-hour trip. We got there, been traveling all day, tired. We get out of the bus, and they are already lined up for the people it's an eyeglass clinic that we're going to go work at. The indigenous Indians of the area are already lined up, as far as you can see, waiting for our clinic to open the next morning. And Tom says, well, you know what we're going to do now. Well, I knew this is the longest I'd ever been in Mexico without hearing the word cerveza. No, Tom wasn't talking about cerveza. We set up the clinic right then, and we worked into the wee hours of doing it. We were back the next morning. We were back the next day. They had machines. I'm sure they've replaced them now. They were old when I had them. But it was a machine where the patient looks into it from one side, and they're looking at a hot air balloon. On my side, I see a blow up of their eyeball, the pupil, and I've got to move the pointer to the X on the pupil, hit the button, and it would print out something that an optometrist made some sense out of. And that sounds easy. But they couldn't typically get somebody to work on it for more than, say, 45 minutes. It was too frustrating. And the reason was, we are dealing with the indigenous Indians of the area. They don't understand our Spanish. They know that it took two people holding their head into that machine. And in my Spanish, I'm telling them, do not blink. Look at the hot air balloon. How many hot air balloons do you think an indigenous Indian in Mexico has ever seen? The answer was nada. So they're trying to get out. They are blinking like crazy. You can see it was frustrating. But let me describe it. They couldn't get me off that machine. I loved it. There was their pupil zipping across that screen. It was going black and white as they would keep blinking. I had a joystick for that button, and I'm chasing that pupil, firing like crazy. And I'm going, blink, make my day. If they could have put quarters into that machine and given a high score, we would have built that eye clinic overnight. Okay, the pencils. I'm given the pencils. By the second day, they knew that I was the pencil guy. The kids were lining up in my line, and they're being pacifist. I mean, it's too docile. They've taken a lot of the joy out of my life because they want the man to give them the pencil. Well, here comes one from around the corner. He's not in the line, and he's got the junior edition of himself standing right next to him, except the female version. And he hands out his hand for the pencil. I knew an artful dodger. You can recognize them around the world. He had not been through that line, or he'd already had a pencil. So I said, no, they understand that worldwide. No. Then he looks at her, holds out her hand. He wants it for his sister, that cute little artful dodger. I gave them both pencils. The biggest smiles you've ever seen. They walk away not knowing what I was originally thinking. They think I'm great. They think Rotary's great. You come back from a trip like that and people say, wow, that was really good you did that. How did you find the time to do that? The answer is, how did you find the time not to do that? You come back, I met Rotarians. I got to know Rotarians in my district so much better. I got to know Rotarians in Mexico. I come back with smiles that you'll always think of. We give value to lives, but whose life really benefited the most on that? I think I carried a lot more away than anybody else. I was literacy chair for North America for Rotary. And part of what I was doing was matching up global grants for areas that needed literacy improvement. I got a grant I helped put together in Mexico City. this is a story that Eric has not heard. And we do youth, my club did youth exchange. I've probably been down to Mexico City 25 times. I've been to quinceañeras, I've been to weddings, I'm part of other people's families, do friendship exchanges. So I said, well, we're going to go down for the friendship exchange. Let's go down a day early. There has been, or 2 days early, there has been the matching grant I did was for street children to learn how to read. And it was a tremendous program. Well, when I got there, I saw that part, but then the lady who was in charge of it said, you know, we have expanded the program into the prison. If I could get permission, would you and Anita like to go to the prison tomorrow morning? Okay, a Mexico City prison. I mean, I could see like the Kingston Trio singing Tijuana Jail. You know, we're going to go in, we're never getting out. Anita said, you know, I love you. I've been a lot of places with you, but I just don't think that's the one I'm going to do. Well, we got the call. We've been approved. They'll come get us 7 a.m. Anita goes, she didn't say what the hell, but that is really what it was. I'll go with you. So we show up. First, they just open up an iron door, basic locks. It doesn't look too intimidating. We go in, they sign us up. Yes, we're on the list. Then we go through the next wall. That's a pretty effective door. I think we're getting into a prison, but no, now we go to that third one where it is thick walls of metal. You hear the electronic gears turning. We're in prison. Well, they gave us some rules. No photographs. We can only go to the one spot. There was a third one. We violated all of them. We went into where they were doing the literacy program, and it was incredible. They were tricking these inmates they'd ask them who wanted to learn how to read? Nobody. They didn't feel like their lives had enough value to be able to be literate. So they asked them, who wants to be an actor in a play? Well, then hands go up. So now they show up to do the play. And they say, well, we have to read it. Well, we can't read. Well, then we'll work on that so you can be an actor. After they've done and written the play, which typically was also a moral type play, so not only were they teaching them to read and write, they were getting life lessons at the same time. And these inmates were thrilled with the program. The Mexican government was thrilled with it, and they adopted it as part of their system. But I still love the line as we were leaving. The head program lady said, you know, I truly get to work with a captive audience. All right, the superintendent of the prison was so impressed with the program also. He goes, would you like to go over and see this part of the prison? Not on our list. Yes. Would you like to go else? Yes. Oh, we can only be there for 1 hour. We were there for 3. Finally, it's photo op time. You walk away again from something like that, something I never envisioned that I would be getting a first-class tour. And the superintendent said, you and Anita are invited back at any time, and Rotary is always welcome. Well, I told that story in Huntsville, and the superintendent of the Huntsville State Prison was attending. He immediately raised his hand when I finished, said, Andy, we've been expecting you for years. And anytime you want to be in our prison, we've got a place reserved for you. So I've managed to avoid that part. Okay, I mentioned that district conference I went to, it got me involved, Anita involved in youth exchange. Let me just close out with some youth exchange stories. We've hosted a lot of students, and each student has a story. Each student changes your lives. Stephen from England. He was 17 years old, but they mature a lot more than our 17 years old. His education was about the equivalency of a junior college. His topics that he discussed with were all, highly educated type conversation. There was no child in him. He was a grown male at 17. We went to our farm. And so we're out in the woods, and I said, why don't we do some target shooting? Well, of course, he'd taken riflery in school, and so yes. And he goes, well, we were using 22 caliber rifles. And so I said, we took like a Havoline oil can empty, had the red circle on it, let's shoot the circle. Well, he said, but this is not exciting. What can we do to make that exciting? And I said, it's a lion charging us, and we've only got 5 seconds to shoot a hole in that eye to kill it. Oh, great. Let's do that. We killed lions, tigers, elephants all afternoon. When we got back, I told Anita, the boy had finally come out. Well, that boy who was going to live in that small town there on the English Channel was going to become an accountant. He had no plans to see the world. This was his first airplane flight. He then made 2 trips around the world. He continues making trips. He lives in Italy now. Family. It changed his whole life. Momoyo from Japan. I got lots of Momoyo stories. But Momoyo came, we were told, she studied English for 6 years. Yes, in Japan, they study for a lot of years. They don't learn to speak English. They learn to read English. It's a huge difference. So I knew that she wasn't going to be able to understand us. I had Japanese clients. I asked them, one of the president of the company, to come with us, meet us at our home, explain some of the rules, her bedroom or whatever. And I wanted to tell her about being hugged. My family hugs. Everybody in the South hugs. I knew that she's going to get hugged left and right, and Japanese don't touch. So I wanted him to explain that to her. And he looked at me and goes, I cannot talk to her about that. And so that's just how difficult that topic is. So using the dictionary, writing things, I explained to her what a hug is. She's going, no. All right. There was an exchange student from Houston who went to Japan, her city, the year before. He was now going away to college. He had 1 day in town to see her, and he and her sister took her to like Astroworld. End of the day, the sister grabs her and hugs her. Now, Momoyo's arms were straight down, just as stiff as she could be. And she's hugged, and she looks over at me and goes, is this a hug? Well, she liked hugs. When she wanted to be hugged, she'd just kind of walk up to your chest, her arms straight down. You'd hug her. My father finally said, you're a half a hugger. You need to give a full hug. So now she's full hugs. We sent her to Mexico City for a week to be with our sister Rotary Club. I told her beforehand, they are going to kiss you on both cheeks every time they meet you, strangers, everyone. She goes, hugs are good, no kissing. Well, we went down there at the end of the week to greet her. She comes, sees us at the airport, comes and kissing us. I mean, we were hugs and kisses for the rest of that year. When she went back to Japan, she came over to be an archaeologist. Her father was very disappointed she came as a youth exchange student because he had a school after school. They're so busy. They go to school all day, then they go to a different school in the evening. She was wasting a year of her education by coming to the United States. she'd never get into a good college. So she goes home. She's wearing cowboy boots, her Stetson. I mean, she has bought the program. And she told us, the first thing I do when I get off the plane, I'm going to hug my mother. I'm going to hug my grandmother. I'm going to hug my father. I'm going to hug my brother. She goes, okay, I'm not going to hug my father or my brother. Well, she announced to him that she didn't want to be an archaeologist. She wants to be an attorney. Her brother was trying to be an attorney, and he had not been accepted to the schools, and he kept studying and not accepted. Her father was very disappointed, knowing there's no way if she'd wasted that year for her to be an attorney. Well, she got accepted to law school. Then she graduates, passes the bar. She calls me to tell me she passed the bar exam. I said, what are your parents doing? She goes, they're drunk. She's now practicing attorney, married to a judge, beautiful family. I think that youth exchange trip changed her life. Last one, Ola the Polish princess. Ola came over here 18 years old, beautiful, did not want to be here. Her father was a Rotarian. He somehow made her go on youth exchange. Her friends knew she didn't want to go. I think they tried to make her make it as hard on us as possible. They shaved her head. I said she was beautiful, but it was hard to tell. And she came over in like a potato sack dress, like a refugee. And it was difficult with her in that you could tell she wanted to be with us, yet something was always holding her back. We had a really good relationship. We discussed all sorts of things. But with all of our other youth exchange students, we were mom and dad or papa. With her, no, it was Andy and Anita. There was that difference. And at the end of the exchange, we're going to the airport, take her home. They call the flight. She doesn't go. Whenever we'd have flights like go to a youth exchange camp in Oklahoma City or Tulsa, it should be like, they call the flight. She's first on the plane. They called the flight. She's not getting on. They called it a second time, not getting on. It is now, it's about almost closing the doors. What we used to do, or I guess we still do, what we call a group hug. We all together in a circle, we give each other a hug. And so all of a sudden we're saying, oh, it's time to get on the plane. She grabs us, pulls us up. It's like time stood still. And I still hear the words. She goes, I love you, I love you, I love you. This has been the greatest year of my life. Well, at that moment, there was no distance between Ola and us. She was as closer than any exchange student we've ever had. We've been to Poland. We've gone to visit her father's Rotary Club. Rotary changes lives. And so often, the most changed life is your own. Thank you.
Andy, thank you so much for that. That was truly, truly inspiring. And I thank you for those incredible words. And I think that is really an embodiment of so much of what Rotary is about. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions for Andy about any of what he said? Or?
I fully concur with you about the youth exchange because we had both my kids went abroad my daughter went to Denmark and our son went to South Africa. And in return, we had students, one from, first one was from Australia, I believe, and the second one was from Argentina. And we also had one from Hungary. And it changes a lot in our life, and particularly our kids. They're still exchanging information and correspondence with the students that was here. We have visited one of them in Argentina, and to see this young kids, now a grown-up woman with her own kids, married to a great guy, and speaking like a Texan, because she was now working for a Texan company, represented them in Argentina. And she was more Texan than I ever seen anybody here. It was really fun. And having been on the exchange committee a few years and met so many of the students going out and coming in, it's one of the greatest programs. It really changed your life.
Our exchange student from Australia just posted in Facebook or sent us a text with a picture. And it was the picture of her husband and their son, the son wearing University of Houston jersey, and they're watching the big screen TV of U of H beating Syracuse. And so, you know, youth exchange has been good for U of H too. We got fans around the world.
Yeah, indeed we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Andy, again, thank you so much for being here. And I